Hey everyone, Bias here. Welcome back to another video. I never expected to get the amount of views on that first video that I did, so we're back with an update, because I have learned some things and made the build better. So, once again, let's go over stats. 35 health, 25 stamina, 42 strength. That's enough strength to use every strength weapon I have found in the game. 25 equip load, so we can stand heavy without being over encumbered. Easy. Far as gear goes, we are using Tongue Splitter and Falstad's Barricade. Now, you don't necessarily need to have Falstad's Barricade. It's not required. It's just very good. You can use the Great Shield, either of the Great Shields that you can buy from the from the blacksmith. Tongue Splitter. You can buy the blueprint from the blacksmith. It's pretty easy to make. Reason we're using Tongue Splitter, it has a what seemingly infinite number of follow-up attacks, which is very important since this is a Great Shield build, and what we're going to be doing is hiding behind our shield, getting a stagger, punishing, and going back behind the shield. Now, where things have really gotten juicy since the last video is in the gear, and mainly in rings. So since that last video, I've found the snake ring. So you deal 24% damage on block, you lose a little bit of stamina on block. This seems to be tied to your main hand weapon as far as how much damage you deal when you block. This shield has 25% damage on block. Those stack. So you're getting a pretty juicy amount of damage. But now where we're really ramping that up is we use the Fierce Ring, damage increased by 20% for 10 seconds after damage taken, since even on a block you're taking a little bit of chip damage. That's going to boost the amount of damage that you get on your block. And then we are taking the Thistle Ring, deal 25% damage on damage taken, which stacks with everything else. And this is kind of nice too. If you get caught out, if you break your block, you can still get a little bit of damage on them that way. Now, we're not entirely killing everything just by blocking them, but you can absolutely do that. Now, as far as armor goes, you're going to want whatever the heaviest stuff you have is. The main things that you're looking for are damage reduction, heal, stagger resistance. Stagger resistance is very, very important because it's going to basically prevent you from being staggered when you're blocking. Because the last thing that you want to do when you're blocking is you take a big hit and then all of a sudden your character gets stuck in that animation where they're reeling and then you're on your ass and you're dead. So we don't want that. So you want at least a couple of pieces of gear with stagger resistance. Now, gloves are probably the most important thing for this build because you can get the gain stamina on staggering an enemy and gain health on staggering an enemy. And those are probably the two most important enchantments on this. Then you want damage reduction and stagger resistance. A little bit of extra healing is good. I've been playing around with some different armor sets right now. As you can see, I'm wearing most of Falstad's armor set, mainly just because it looks cool. This is my much more optimized armor set, which also looks cool. As far as alternative weapons for Tongue Splitter, I have tried Falstead's Fury and tried to make this work. I did a strength split strength faith build. It's the damage just isn't there. Um, this has a 4-hit combo, which is nice and fast, but the problem with this weapon is you get the 30% increased damage at full health. Because we're going to be blocking and taking that little bit of chip damage, it is very, very rare that we are actually going to be making use of the 30% damage at full health, which is kind of sad because, I mean, it's Falstad's sword and his shield, right? So you would think that they would be a good combo, but it's kind of an anti-synergy. I've played around with a bunch of different one-handed weapons. Tongue Splitter is still the best one-handed weapon for this build. As far as runes on Tongue Splitter, we've got Fire Enchant, we've got the Flaming Throw weapon, Damage Surge, and the Whirlwind Spend that comes with Tongue Splitter off the rip. The main two that you're going to be using here, really the main one that you're going to be using here is the Weapon Throw. Fire Enchant is good, plus it'll double as a torch if you're down somewhere that's nice and dark and dank and whatever. Damage Surge is cool when you can get it in, but it's going to be pretty rare. Another nice thing about Falstead's Barricade is you gain 10% focus on block, so you're basically going to be at full focus most of the time or close to it. I do recommend, again, you don't necessarily have to have this shield. You can roll a 20% damage on block on any great shield. It doesn't have to be this one. This is just happens to be the only one that can get to 25% damage. And then I do recommend putting the 50% or 15% heat damage on block gem in your shield just to give that extra little bit of sauce there, which is quite nice. So as far as secondaries go, I bring a giant sword. Festering Earth is probably the best one I've found. It has the highest raw damage that I've seen on a two-handed strength weapon so far. I don't use it very often. It can be nice. Plus, it's got a couple of good follow-up attacks, so if you can knock a boss on their butt with the staggers, which is part of the whole point of this build, you can capitalize on that, but you don't really need it. This is the weapon that you want to take the rune off of, the Climber's Pick. I found a ton of these. I've seen merchants selling them. If you release Fenley from the jail, I've seen him sell it a few times. I've got them as drops, but you really want that fire throw on here because it's a very fast, quick follow-up, and you can really capitalize on the staggers. Now, talking about staggers really quick, something that is important, you want to go to your settings, go to gameplay, and all the way down at the bottom, here it is, show enemy poise bars. This is going to show a nice little white bar on the bottom of your enemy's health bar, so you know when they're going to stagger. Because something that is, I don't know if it is intended or if it's a bug, but if you're blocking and you stagger an enemy while blocking, it will not trigger any of your on stagger effects. So what you want to do is you want to turtle behind your shield, let them smack you, let them take a bunch of damage. If you're in the Crucible, a lot of the weaker enemies, even in the Pestilent zones, a lot of the weaker enemies will just die from you blocking, which is great, especially dealing with ranged enemies. They'll just shoot you with a couple of arrows and then they'll fall over dead, which is wonderful. But for the bigger stuff, you want to make sure right before they stagger, you smack them in the face with your axe a couple of times. They'll fall over. You'll get all that stamina back and you'll top off your health. Now, I probably have a little bit more healing increase than I actually need, and I have a healing increase gem in this Tongue Splitter. I would prefer to have a physical damage one in there, but unfortunately, the way the game is right now, we can't take it out. But anyway, that's about it. Just wanted to come with come out with an updated guide on this. I'll throw some footage at the end here. And yeah, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching. There you go. That was intensity 4. Yeah. This build's dumb. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good jazz. Let me know what you want to see next. I'm getting again. Sir. Have a great one, everybody.